So I'm at a friend of mine's nursery. This is Swift Creek Nursery. There's actually a privet called Swift Creek that they named. It's a variegated privet. It stays a little smaller, more compact than regular variegated privet. This is a wholesale nursery most of the year. They do a little retail on a few weekends in the spring, but for the most part they sell to garden centers across the state of North Carolina. I'm going to walk through this shade area a little bit and show you some things in this shade area. I haven't walked through here yet myself, so it'll surprise me as well as we go. Leaves are falling, so it's you know, a bit messier than it normally would be out here, but I'm sure they'll it's when the fall season is over, you know, clean up. Sometimes you can't clean up when everything's hopping. You'll hear a lot of noise right now because things are moving quickly in October. This is Edgeworthia right here. They've got a few nice ones left. This is one of my absolute favorite plants. Blooms in the late winter. There's some nice holly ferns here. I saw another big group in another spot here in the nursery, but this is one of my favorite ferns as well. Let's see if I can keep my shadow out of this as we walk down this line. There's some variegated Pittosporum right here. Variegated Pittosporum can get quite big. Got a really fantastic, fragrant, inconspicuous white flower, but it gets some size on it. A little further down I can see some Mojo Pittosporum, which I've talked about many times. It's a dwarf version of this. And here's some regular green Pittosporum right here. Pittosporum definitely needs to be mounded up a little bit when you plant them, just to prevent any kind of root rot. And then this is Mojo Pittosporum, which I've talked about many times on the channel. It's the same as that other variegated one, but it's a dwarf version. He actually grows some old-fashioned gardenias. Most everybody's got all new, you know, new hybrids. These are not quite as cold hardy, but you can see the size of the leaf on this on these gardenias right here. They're probably a zone 8 hardy. Most of the newer varieties of gardenias are, been bred for more cold hardiness than these, but these get the big giant double white flowers on them, and big beautiful foliage, and it's probably more traditional, what a gardenia kind of looks like. Here's a Pieris right here. Let me see if I can see the see what variety this is right here. It's Katsura is the variety on this one. Really nice red new foliage throughout the growing season. Of course, it's near the end of the growing season, but they're budded up right now. They have their flower buds on them to bloom in the late winter. Great plant, kind of hard to grow Pieris, honestly, in a nursery with overhead irrigation. So they're doing a pretty good job on that. Here's some sweet box. It's amazing, a lot of these shade evergreen shrubs, their flower buds are on the back of those right now. A lot of these shade evergreen shrubs bloom super early in the spring. That's another example of that. This is a sweet box. Here's a plum yew right here, a lower growing one. This one looks like it, just from its growth habit, it's going to get 3 or 4 feet tall. Not sure the actual variety on it. It looks a lot like Utopia. Here's another sweet box, a group of sweet box right here. Here's another low growing plum yew. This is actually Duke Gardens, and this one's pretty popular. This one I've seen, as tall as 4 feet, maybe even probably get 5 feet eventually, but could be kept 2 or 3 feet. But Duke Gardens is a very good one. Again, I've shown that Utopia plum yew several times, about similar size and shape. This is Temple Bells Pieris right here. This one blooms white, and it's budded up like crazy right here. And these flower buds will open in the late winter. Great shade shrub. They've got large groups of things in here taped off right there to go out to garden centers, because the garden center business has been so crazy this year. Here's a variegated Radicans gardenia. Radicans gardenia, or trailing gardenia is what they're called. This is actually a variegated version of it right here. Great plant. It will revert, I'm not going to oversell you on this plant. You see there's a green stem right there that needs to be cut out. Okay, so if you do get variegated Radicans, and it's definitely worth a try. If you get any kind of green reversion in it, that needs to be cut out occasionally. No big deal. No big deal, as long as you know it's coming. It's pretty easy to deal with. This is a prostrate plum yew, which seems like every shade video I've ever done, prostrate plum yews in it. Super easy, slow growing ground cover evergreen plant for the shade. And next up we have some variegated osmanthus. This is Goshiki osmanthus. I've talked about it a bunch over the years. Goshiki means 5 colors in Japanese, and it's got that variegation in it, and then it turns pinks and reds. You know, the new growth kind of changes throughout the season, and then the oldest growth is just simply creamy white and green variegated. He's got a big group of these. I mean, Goshiki osmanthus, and my experience doing retail, there's a reason that there's so many here. It's just everybody that sees it wants it, and they're a pretty easy plant. They, you know, sometimes we call osmanthus false hollies. You know, they look like hollies. They look like they'd be wicked, but they're really not. Lots of different kinds of osmanthus. Here's a green akuba right here. There's the fruit right there, which is starting to turn red from the flowers that happen on them in the spring. Here's some variegated akuba right here. This is gold dust for sure. Right there, and he's got a few other varieties. So many nurseries only grow gold dust, which is, you know, you can see why it's called gold dust right there. This is one called Marmorata, easy for me to say. Right there, it's really great variegation on that. Hopefully it's not too, the sun's coming in, sneaking in here this morning and probably messing with the light a little bit, but you can see the beautiful spotting and variegation on that one. And then this is another group of green akuba. This one's called Roseanne. Again, here's the drupes right there, turning red as they mature. Beautiful foliage on this plant. You can't beat Japanese akuba in a shady space. It's just easy. I think this is Pictorata right here, where you have the more gold center on it. I apologize for my shadows, gonna get in this a lot, but I think this is Pictorata with the big yellow variegation in the center. And then here is some more prostrate plum yews and some more gold dust akuba. This is a Mahonia, which is budded up to bloom right here, called Nirihara. I always have a hard time saying this one. This one's similar to Soft Caress, yellow flowers on it. Bees absolutely love these in the wintertime. I mean, you can see, look at this plant. How could you beat this plant in a shady space? And it's just a great texture. Even combining these akuba and the Mahonia together, it's a beautiful combo. There's some variegated boxwoods here, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know. My impression of a variegated boxwood is, I mean, it's not that great. It's just not that great. To me, it almost looks a little bit like a sick boxwood, and you know, it's nothing they had to do with it. It's just they've got little yellow edges on them that's not quite wide enough to present itself as variegated, and presents itself to me as more of a sick boxwood. But you know, of course, that's just, it's my opinion. I'm sure they sell pretty quickly in a retail setting. This is a Shishi Gashera camellia here, and I've talked about white shishi being released next year, and I've got a white shishi I just planted in my yard. But here's a flower starting to open. We are almost at camellia time, which is one of my favorite times of the year. This is a big group of Shishi Gashera, which is a low-growing, spreading Camellia sasanqua. One of my favorite Here's a podocarpus right here, and I've talked about that mood ring podocarpus quite a bit. This is the regular upright podocarpus. These can go in the sun or the shade. Probably a little easier to grow in the shade in a nursery in the south, so you know, that's probably why they're in here, but they look great growing in here. More prostrate plum yews, more shishi, Gashera camellias. You can see how popular this one is. It's a camellia that stays small. This is golden euonymus here, and they're not that colorful because they got them in the shade. I'm assuming that they're growing these in the shade to prevent the roots get hot on these. Sometimes they have a problem. You'll see these grown in the shade, but they can finish them in the late winter when there's no leaves on these trees, and they'll be super colorful before the leaves come back out in the spring. These are very susceptible to a scale insect called euonymus scale. I'm not a big fan of golden euonymus, but people buy them like crazy because they're so striking in the spring when they're really super bright gold. This is one of my absolute all-time favorite plants right here. This is an Alyssium called Woodlander's Ruby. It's a red flowering Alyssium. That one is faded a little bit, but this is one of my all-time favorite shrubs. Beautiful dark green leaves. This is a native shrub. Deer don't eat it. You just kind of can't miss with that plant. So I walked all the way down that row right here, and I'm going to finish this video up in this section over here, which is mostly Camellia sasanquas. We're a little early for Camellia sasanquas to be opening, but there are some flowers here and there. We saw on that shishi gasheri on that other row, and here's another one right here. You can see the spreading habit on this plant. This is one I can, you can pick out from a long way away. There's another group of them there for sure. I mean, it's just a very different plant. This variety is called Jean May. It's been around for a long time. I grew this one. It's got really nice double pink. It's not really a full double, but it does have the a little bit of extra. I call it a semi-double, but it's still a good one, and it has great. The plant still has great color. Some of the really old varieties of Camellia sasanquas, I think, really struggle now. It's like disease has kind of catches up with them over time. It's the same thing in roses. 100-year-old rose varieties tend to struggle more with disease problems than newer introductions, but Jean May seems to have really held up well, and I like that light pink. So I showed you the other soft to the touch Mahonia earlier in the video, but then I found this big section of soft caress right here. Well, it's just a beautiful plant, and great for a texture change. And then there's some Florida Sunshine Alyssium right here, which are also super showy. Sorry about my having my shadow in there, but look how this pops. I mean, you see how kind of dark this video's been because I'm in this shady space, and a lot of these green things, like these camellias, just kind of blend in to the space, and you put a pop of gold like this Florida Sunshine Alyssium into it, and it stands out from a mile away. There's some Fats Hedra right here. He's got a few different variegated Fats Hedra. Actually, I see three different varieties right here. There's one that's a kind of a medium gold or chartreuse color in the middle with the dark green on the outside. Then he's got one with a smaller kind of contorted leaf variety right there, and then the Angio Star, which I've planted at my house, which has a more creamy white variegation on the outside and the dark green in the middle. And then I'll show you one last camellia, and we'll wrap this up. This is Autumn Spirit. I've seen a few of these groups out here blooming already. Obviously, this is a very early blooming Camellia sasanqua. Really beautiful. These are fairly newly potted, like everything in the nursery business right now, because it's been so crazy busy, but really nice. Pretty full double flower sasanqua. This one, like I say, it's called Autumn Spirit. So thank you very much for watching this video and tagging along through this shade section at Swift Creek Nursery.